The Mare Orientale is an impact crater nearly 4 billion years old. The colour coded for elevation highlights a bullseye pattern of concentric rings. And now we're off to the South Pole. And the South Pole sits within the wide rim of the famed Shackleton crater. And we're going to have a good look at that. As we come closer to it, you can see that the South Pole is actually just inside a crater. That's the Shackleton crater. And direct sunlight never reaches the crater floor. But the Lunar Prospector has detected higher than normal amounts of hydrogen within the crater, which may indicate the presence of ice. From here, we're going to travel to the far side of the Moon, the South Pole, also known as the Aitken Basin, and it's one of the largest and oldest impact features in the solar system. And if we look at the colour coding, you'll see it's actually quite enormous. Right, so now we're off to the Tycho crater. Tycho was a Dutch astronomer, and this one is really, we've got some really good pictures for this. So as we zoom in, you're going to see a mountainous peak in the centre of a crater. Here it comes. But we can do even better than that. If we really focus in, we're going to find that there's a boulder sitting on the top of that mountain, which is actually 100 metres wide, and it may have been left there by the impact. And look at that, there we go, pretty good. Alright, now we're off to the Aristarchus crater, and that's the product of a relatively recent impact. So let's see if we can see that. And there it is. We're zooming in now. Lovely. So Aristarchus. And it sits on a plateau, and it's the site of many transient lunar phenomena and mysterious shifts of colour in the light and the surface. Now we're about to fly over the Sea of Serenity, and to its right, the Sea of Tranquility. So here's the Serenity, and you notice a slightly different colour lava. That's the Sea of Tranquility, and these dark regions, as I say, were laid down by vast lava flows. Right, now I'd like to see the highlands to the north, so we're off to see the Taurus Littrow Valley. And here it is. Okay. And this image is based on a stereoscopic elevation map from the Japanese Kaguya spacecraft. And what's good about it is you can see the Apollo 17 landing site. And you can even see the trails left by the rover tyres and the astronauts. And finally, we're off to the North Pole now. And in the highlands, in the mountains that blanket this region, we'll see the sides of a myriad craters. And after we've looked at them in projection for height, you can see this right there. And we're actually going to look now at the rather hypnotic casting of long shadows across the craggy lunar landscape, which I find rather beautiful. Okay, and now it's time for us to learn the names and locations of 6 or 7 features that we have to know for our GCSE. So we're going to start off with the Ocean of Storms, I think. And that, as we look at the Moon here, the Ocean of Storms is to the far left. So I will zoom in on each of these that we're talking about, but I want you to get an idea of where it's placed in relation to everything else. So the Ocean of Storms is this lava field here. Okay, Ocean of Storms. Okay, the next one is the Kepler crater, and that's I'm trying to put it in the centre of the screen. Here it comes. Kepler crater. Yes, it's just above the R. Let's look to the right. There we go. And now the Copernicus crater. This is probably the easiest one to spot just by with your naked eye. You can probably find this on most nights. Copernicus crater, if you're lucky. And that one's easy to spot, really, isn't it? Okay. And now let's have a look at the Apennine mountain range. And you can see we're sort of following a line across the surface of the moon, aren't we? And you can see these mountains in the sort of centre, a little bit centre, right of centre as well. You can see some range of mountains. Now the Sea of Trnaquility, which is the darker of these two circular seas that we're closing in on. The dark one, as I say, the Sea of Trnaquility. The one that's lighter and slightly above it is the Sea of Serenity. Okay, I think it's slightly different colours, which is quite purplish, isn't it? And the last one, the Sea of Crises, is this sort of one that's not contiguous with the other mares. It's sort of by itself. Probably that's why it's in a crisis, probably. Okay, Crises over to the right there. Okay. So if you know those, wonderful.